But let's do around 12. Okay.
Hello and welcome to
Okay.
Focus on
Okay.
Liberia. This is our special.
I will call you. I will call you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is our special Tuesday edition. We have a very important discussion tonight, and so we are here to present to you something on the Liberian economy. I have in studio my guest, economist Samuel P. Jackson. He's the author of Rich Land, Poor Country. Mr. Jackson, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Dennis, I'm very, very, very pleased to see you again. Happy New Year, and how's your family? I know
We're
you took
doing
your daughter.
excellent.
I know you took your daughter to college yesterday. That's a very good feeling. That isn't it?
It is. And
Yeah.
that's
And then when you take her to college now, that she and the boys over there now.
Don't even go there.
I
Ladies and
know,
gentlemen, I
right?
want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Our topic tonight is Samuel Jackson on the Liberian economy. And specifically, he's going to do a response to Minister Samuel Tweah. That's the Minister of Finance uh, and Development Planning, Honorable Samuel Tweah. Minister Tweah was on social media giving his prognosis to the Liberian economy and what can be done to revive it or the level at which it is. Mr. Jackson also was in that broadcast. He felt that he did not have the time to talk, and so he has asked that we give him the special time so that he can respond and even offer more on the Liberian economy. Mr. Jackson, we are happy to have you.
Thank you very much. Before we go further, can you send me the I'm not getting it on Facebook. Can you send it to me by in my messenger so I can get it? Okay.
Definitely, we'll
Okay.
do that.
Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah. So, but I'm very pleased to be here. Um, when we were having a discussion on the Liberian economy the last time, Mr. Tweah, been very grandiloquent and very hyperactive, was given the opportunity to spew a lot of misinformation and a lot of he just jumbled all the facts. He confused the Liberian people. So I wanted to give clarity to the whole issue about what is actually going on in the Liberian economy because Dennis, about a few months ago, I was in Monrovia, and the United Nations Development Program (UNDP) asked me to do a synthesis of the Liberian economy. And my synthesis document was used as the foundation for the National Economic Dialogue. So that synthesis document kind of gave an overview of the major challenges within the Liberian economy. And Mr. Samuel Tweah knows that. But of course, being a politician and working at the behest of the president, he had to say some things because you would agree, Dennis, there was a lot of pressure on Mr. Tweah over the last several weeks since the December 8th election, where the CDC lost a lot of seats. And then, of course, their stronghold, Montserrado, slipped away to them. And then a lot of the people within the party, they were calling for his head. And that's why he went on this whole public relations junket to
All
try
right.
to change the narrative around.
All right. And we'll get to your response to Samuel Tweah, but a lot of people listening to us want to know the state of the Liberian economy, what is going on now, and what, in your view, is responsible for the issues we have. First, let us know the economic landscape, how things are with in Liberia. We hear a lot of noise about other harsh economic conditions encroaching on our people. We want to hear your view, how these things are and how they can be resolved. Even before we get to Samuel Tweah, what is the state of the Liberian economy?
Well, if I were to use euphemisms like challenging, you know, it would be unfair to the audience. The Liberian economy is really down in the drain. It is down in the drain for several reasons. Okay? You look at the historical reason. I wrote a book about that, Rich Land, Poor Country. The country is characterized by a very narrow economic base. You have a country with just two major primary commodity exports that they depend on. Well, actually, three now: rubber, gold, diamond, and of course, iron ore. So that's a narrow economic base that has existed for a long time. So some of the other structural defects of the economy is the lack of infrastructure. Infrastructure, roads and electricity are the two most binding constraints to economic growth. Only 5.9% of the roads in the country paved, and less than 7% of the population is on the electricity grid. So when you have no energy, you have no roads, you really can't do any manufacturing. So manufacturing as a contribution to Liberia's GDP is less than about 8%. So if you don't create a manufacturing base, you don't create wage employment, and you have a huge degree of what we call informality. Informality means the proportion of the population of the workforce that is involved in the informal sector. So it's between 79 to 80% of Liberians in the informal sector, people who subsistence farming. And if you go to the city of Monrovia, everybody's out there selling, yana ball, market women, pen, keke, transportation system, all of that informal economy, that architecture does not grow in the economy and is not sustainable over a long period of time.
Right.
So that's the way economy is. And of course, the recent issue with the lack of liquidity within the banking system.
And we'll come to that. We'll come to that issue.
Yeah, but you asked me to give you the.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's in fact that is the main problem for now. That is the most vexing economic problem that exists now that need to be solved right away. Because if you don't solve that, you cannot solve the other. You cannot overcome the other developmental challenges that exist in the country.
Right. And the issues that you have listed about our import and export, the electric grill, and all these things, these are not issues that started today.
Yeah. And, of course, absolutely. But they've been exacerbated by the bad governance within the CDC administration. You see the kleptocracy, the rampant corruption, the $16 billion, as you know. The Kroll report and the Presidential Investigation Task Force say that there's no evidence that this money was put into the financial system or the banking system. The $25 million mop-up, as you know the issue with that.
Right.
That the report is very clear that at all levels of that operation, there were risk of fraud and diversion of significant amount of that money. As a matter of fact, the Crow report made specific reference to 5 million of the 25 million that was not distributed, and the central bank did not provide any evidence of what was done to that $5 million.
And we continue to hear that 25 million is not actually 25, it's 17 million.
Well, the Crow report was very clear that there was an expenditure of 20 million, but 5 million could not be accounted for. And with the $20 million, it said that money was given to foreign exchange bureaus that were not registered, and there were discrepancies between the amount of money that was on the books of the central bank and the monies that were given to the individual foreign exchange bureaus. So it was very clear that, but the thing is, Dennis, both reports said that there should be a forensic examination. And it's gone more than 2 years now. There has been no forensic examination of the 16 billion or the 25 million. So that is still outstanding. And then if you look at the other visual stuff, the 49 condos that just mushroom out of nowhere, Mr. Weah did not declare his asset. So we don't know the origin of where he got this wealth from. The renting or leasing of private jets, we don't know that. And of course, the other issues that are so clear in terms of the breaking down of his 9th Street decrepit King's Lodge and the building of a palatial edifice on that land. So these are issues that have people very concerned. And then when you combine that with the economic challenges that will be fed that they inherited, so what they've really done is they have exacerbated the economic problems in Liberia,
Right.
and we can all see now, a manifestation of that in terms of the reduced employment, reduced income, lack of liquidity with the banking system, food insecurity, and all of those problems that accompany the multiple dimensions of poverty.
Right. What percentage of that of the problem we have now can be attributable to President Sirleaf? You on
Well,
this network told me that it was the Sirleaf administration that, in your own words, criminally and diabolically cannibalized the economy.
yeah, but not. I didn't say criminally cannibalize the economy. I said criminally infused $16 billion into the
You said they
in
cannibalized.
well, yeah, but I mean they cannibalized the financial system. Okay, they cannibalized the financial system. They introduced a heavy amount of inflation that reduced the purchasing power of the ordinary Liberian, and they NoCal for all practical purposes. But I was specifically about the cannibalization of NoCal. No one knows where the money went, and of course, she did not have a post-Ebola economic recovery strategy plan, and of course, too, she did not have any plan for the quantum of spending from all mail that will have evaporated with the with the with the drawdown of all mail. So then you have to basically blame her for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is at what point? Because in Liberia they say, don't look at the place you fell down, but look at where you slipped.
Yeah.
So that's what portion of this economic downturn can President Weah own, and how much of it can we say Eleanor's President Sirleaf is responsible?
Well, in the political economy, after you've been in power for 3 years, it doesn't make any political sense or even logical sense for you to start blaming the previous administration. Once you become president, you own the problem and you are 100% responsible to fix that problem. So Mr. Weah cannot go back, or I as an economist, I can't draw a diagram or do a model and say Mr. Sirleaf is responsible for this percentage of the economy. Mr. Weah has been president for 3 years, and of course, there's been no earnest effort to resolve the fundamental problems that face the Liberian people. So he's responsible. He's in charge. And if there were any issues in terms of transgressions by the past administration, Mr. Weah had the option to audit the Elling administration, to audit all the agencies. There are dozens of GAC audit reports that are outstanding, and there have been no accountability, and no one has been held responsible for a lot of the allegations that were made in the GAC report. So Mr. Weah must bear full responsibility for the current state of the Liberian economy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are in conversation with economist Samuel P. Jackson. He is discussing the Liberian economy, and specifically, he's responding to Minister Samuel Tweah, who made a lot of assertions about the Liberian economy and how the issues can be resolved. So, Mr. Jackson, you were on that. The major problem happening in Liberia, you hit on few of those, one of which being the liquidity problem. So let's go step by step to talk about the problem the Liberian economy faces today. What did Tweah say about it, and what are you saying? So we're going to go step by step.
Okay. Well, first of all, Mr. Tweah is vaunting about the IMF projection of 3.4% growth rate. And when I asked him pointedly where the growth would originate, or where the growth would come from, which sector will provide that growth, he said it will come across. Remember, he gave a formula. He said it would come from C and I and G, and So as an economist, you know, there are sectoral origins of growth, and I need to be very, very. I don't want to be pedantic, but I want to be very clear in explaining, you know, what the C, the I, the G, and the X
Right.
minus M is. It's extremely important for Liberians to understand that. Okay, there are two
Mr.
ways.
Mr. Jackson, before you get there, because he told us in that interview that this was basic economics, and he was surprised you were asking that question because you should know
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no, yeah. In fact, his words were it is elementary.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it is not elementary to Mr. Tweah because he doesn't understand the calculation of GDP. There are two ways to calculate GDP. You have the expenditure approach and the income approach. The most common approach is called the expenditure approach, where we add consumption, which is household consumption. That's the C. Okay, and then plus the I. The I is investment. Okay,
Yeah.
either that can be domestic capital formation or it can be foreign direct investment. And then we do the G, which is government spending. And then that's plus in parentheses. If you don't mind, can I put it on the screen? Can I share the screen?
No, don't share the screen. Put it in there. What do you want to write?
No, I just want to basically show the audience because I did write it. I put it in a very simple way for them to understand. So if they can I share the screen? Is it possible to share the screen?
No, you can send it to me. I can put it on the screen.
Okay, I will send it to you. Okay then. Okay, so let me send it to you in terms of I will send it to you in okay. Oh, sorry, Chief. Let me. I will send it to you. I'm trying to get to. Okay, there you go. I'll send it to you right now. Okay, so I'll send it to you so you can give it to your audience, so that way we can have a good explanation on how this really works. Okay.
Right. So,
Okay.
but the
So
bottom line there is where is the growth coming from?
okay, exactly. So the growth has to come from a sector because if you look at consumption, consumption is income because you have to have income to do the. And I'm just sending it to you now. Okay. So okay. Yeah, you got it there, Dennis. Okay, let me go back to you. Okay, so consumption is the C portion, right? So that's household income and expenditure. That's so. In order to determine that, you have to do a survey, a household income and expenditure survey, to know. There are a lot of other things that go into that. It based upon the consumer price index, and then we, we have a basket of what each family spends on, for example, like rent, what they spend on food, what they spend on other issues like transportation, and so on, so on, and so forth. So that's what that C is. But that C does not grow if you have unemployment. If you have unemployment, people are losing their jobs, and you don't have any sector that is creating jobs. So it couldn't come from that C. Okay. So you come to the I. The I is the investment portion, right? Investment is either people save the money domestically and they do what we call domestic capital formation, and they create businesses and they create jobs and they create income. That's not happening. Then another part of that R is the foreign direct investment. That foreign direct investment means people from outside, they feel comfortable with governance, they feel comfortable with the stability, and they invest. And there's been no major investment in Liberia over the last 3 years. Then you come to the G portion. The G portion happens to be government spending. Government spending is a function of revenue, right? Revenue comes from people earning an income and they're paying their taxes and they're importing goods and all of that. That has been declining. As you know, there's been a lot of budget support. So it cannot come from government spending. The only way it can come from government spending if government borrows. And government does not borrow to pay recurrent expenditure, but government borrows to do public sector investment projects. Because when they do public sector investment projects, they will buy capital equipment, they will employ people, and they will pay vendors and all of that. So it will grow from that. But you don't have the space to borrow. Then you go to X minus the M, which is the export minus the import. Okay. The IMF for the last 3 years under the Tweah administration has been saying that growth has been mostly as a result of the increase in what they call gold exports. The price of gold has been going up. So if you see this C here, which is the consumption, the investment, the government spending plus the X, okay, the exports minus the import. So Liberia has a trade deficit, as you know. There are more imports coming in than export.
Right.
So if gold has been driving the GDP growth, then the IMF should have said this 3.4% will be mostly coming from exports. Okay, will be gold exports. Now let me tell you the exports in 2019. In 2019, there was an increase in iron ore exports. Iron ore, because the price of iron ore has increased. So $250 million worth of iron ore.
Can I stop you a minute?
Yeah.
So, because the formula is on the board, right?
Yeah, right.
The whole idea here is you ask the question, where is the growth coming from? Because the
Exactly.
IMF has projected that the
Right.
Liberian economy is growing.
Right.
So take, for instance, you are saying if the growth, if Mr. Tweah is saying if the growth is coming from the sea, it
Right.
means consumption, meaning more people are working and they are able to buy.
Exactly. Exactly.
If it is coming from the I, it means
Yeah.
people are investing in the country.
Yes, exactly.
Or is it coming from government spending that is resulting into revenue being generated?
Exactly. No, because government spending is a result of increased revenues or borrowing. You know, government spending, government can borrow to spend. But you and I know that there's been budget support. The extended credit facility has been giving budget support to the government of Liberia.
Right.
So they can even make up for the reduction in revenue, right? And there's been, as you know, there's the shortage in revenue as a percentage of GDP has been very high. So it's not coming from the G. So there's not been an increase in government spending, right? So then it can only
coming
come
from the X, it means we are exporting more, which is
exactly. So the IMF has been saying that they over the last 3 years that growth has been mostly coming from the export of gold. But here is the problem, okay? When you increase exports, right, in an extractive industry that has limited linkages to the domestic economy, the income from there does not flow back.
Let's slow down. You say the export, the extractive industry does not have linkages to the domestic economy. What does that mean?
Okay, exactly. Okay, so let's look at gold, right?
Right.
Or let's look at iron, or let's look at gold. Gold, the production of gold does not, when you're producing gold, you are not buying a lot of imports from the country. Right. So there's no increase. There's no increase in employment. Right. There's no increase in terms of the buying of goods and services.
Right.
And they are not doing other things that will spur the economy.
Right. Meaning the things that you need to produce the gold, we are not even buying them from the country.
Exactly. The capital. So you just have a labor force. Right. Whether the price of gold goes up or not, the employment remains the same. They don't employ more people, so they don't use economies of scale in gold production, right? To say you bring in more labor, you will have more output. That's not how it works, right? And the people in the gold mines are not going to be eating more because they're exporting more gold, right? So basically, that is stagnant. That's what we call the extractive industry, okay? Okay.
Their pay is not going to increase because you are importing more gold. They
Exactly.
are not going to go to the nightclub more because you are. So it
Exactly.
really doesn't impact the local economy
Right.
significantly.
Exactly. Okay. So now we all know that the extractive industry is what we call an enclave activity because it's not fully connected. It's not really connected to the domestic economy. That's what we call an enclave activity, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So now, Mr. Tweah said it will come from the C and the R, and so what investments are being made that would drive that GDP increase? Household consumption. Now, the only way household consumption can increase if, for example, we in the diaspora, if we have a lot of money here, we feel good, the economy goes up, and we decide instead of sending out 350 million to 400 million dollars a year that we send there, we send 600 million, right? So
Right.
now there will be a source of where household consumption could go up because now you have an increase in inward remittances. Are you following me?
Yeah.
So you have an increase in inward remittances that goes into the pockets of people that they're using for household expenditure. Then that C will go up. But there's no evidence that the inward remittances or something extraordinary is going to happen for consumption to go up. Okay. The other problem that Mr. Tweah has is this: garbage in, garbage out. Let me explain that. In order to calculate GDP, you have to have a national income accounting authority. Most countries have a national statistical office. Our statistical office is LISGIS. LISGIS is the one that goes out to do the household income and expenditure survey to
Right.
determine whether aggregate demand is going up or not, right?
Right.
And they also survey businesses to determine if they're going to be investing in what is happening within the economy. If you look at the last 3 years from all of the Article 4 consultations, you see from the Article 4 consultations, you will see that the IMF has been adjusting, revising their their growth projection downwards.
Right. Before we get there, we want to know where is the IMF getting this data from?
The
Do we
IMF
have?
is getting that's what I'm saying. The
Yeah.
IMF is getting it. The National Income Accounting Authority in Liberia does not exist. Does
Right.
not exist. But we have a statistical office that supports the IMF and gives the IMF the data. The IMF don't have people on the ground. So
Exactly.
the IMF has a model, econometric model, like all of economists do, right? It's like an Excel spreadsheet. In that Excel sheet there, we have the cells and we have the formulas that accompany the relationship between cells. So if you put an incorrect data in
Right.
any of the cell, it's going to give you what? A wrong projection.
Right.
So the IMF has been getting these wrong projections over the last 3 years. IMF said in 2018 there was going to be a growth rate of 4%, and it was negative 1.4%. So the IMF does not have the bandwidth in Liberia because the IMF does not have a team of economists and statistical experts in Liberia to go out and get that information. There's a paucity of data, okay, and the integrity of the data is very, very poor. That is the reason why we call it garbage in, garbage out. In
Mr.
other
Jackson.
economies that have advanced statistical
Mhm.
institutions and national income accounting authority, the Liberian Revenue Authority, for example, itself does not have the expertise, does not have the bandwidth to do
So Mr.
proper
Jackson,
revenue projection.
Mr.
It-
Jackson,
yeah.
are you suggesting that IMF has been wrong all the time? Is that
For,
what you were saying?
for Liberia, over the
Yeah.
last 3 years, they've been
But this,
mostly wrong.
Samuel, Minister Tweah is saying these are the numbers we celebrate when they are good. Now it's coming to the we administration and people are not celebrating those same numbers. If
but,
the
but,
IMF
but
has come up to say the Liberian economy is bad, then people, mainly people who don't like or who want to see who wants the president's job will be happy.
yeah,
Now the
okay.
IMF is making these numbers in favor of the government. People say, oh no, those numbers are not correct.
Okay,
Isn't that a double standard?
it's not a double standard because the the way you grade a government is not on it is not on growth projection. You have to grade it based upon the actual outcome, right?
Right.
So if you look at the actual outcome over the last 3 years, it's been negative growth, right? So we're not grading the IMF projection. We're grading
The
the
actual
outcome
outcome.
indicators, right? Over the last 3 years. So another way to grade it is to see what is happening within the financial system. And you see what's happening within the financial system in terms of the lack of liquidity within the banking system. Okay. And then you have to look at the Human Development Index in terms of what is happening to the livelihood of people in terms of issues like food security. Uh, you look at 30% of the adolescent girls in the country, and this is from the Liberia Demographic and Health Survey, that 30% of girls between the ages of 15 and 19 are getting pregnant. So you have food insecurity. Food insecurity. Then you also have the issue of a lot of negative health indicators. So these are issues. These are issues that we judge a government by. We don't judge a government by GDP growth. We judge a government by improvement in the lives of the people. So the
And
question,
how do you mention that? How do you
okay, great.
measure it?
Okay, great. So we have indicator. We have social economic indicator. We have the Human Development Index, which is put up by what? United Nations Development Program, right? And
Yeah.
they come out every October with the Human Development Index, and it tells you what improvements or what challenges you have. And the Liberian Human Development Index has not been going up. It's been kind of flat. It's at 0.465 in 2020.
What's
So
the
you look
average?
at
What's
eh,
the average in West Africa?
the Ghana is about around 611. Ivory Coast is higher. The only person that's lower than us would be Sierra Leone. Okay, but if you look at the the country with the highest human development index is Norway, around 0.949. So you see that Liberia at 0.465 is is at the level of the 12 least developed country on the planet because it's a 177 out of 189 countries. So that's how you determine whether you're making improvement in the lives of people. Liberia is 173 years old, and the 12 least developed country in the bottom of the Human Development Index. That is terrible. That is very terrible, Dennis.
All right.
So our life expectancy is only 62 years, Dennis. Any child born in Liberia today will only live to be 62. Only 2% of the population is above the age of 62.
All right. So that's on the growth part. So in to conclude on the growth, you were saying the economy is not growing.
Well, the economy, you have to have growth enablers, right? Some of the growth enablers would be that if we have better infrastructure, okay, we improve the electricity situation, we build more roads, and then we improve governance. Okay, we reduce the corruption. We do all of the things that will drive in foreign direct investments and expansion of economic output. So when you do that, then you see economic growth. You have to see sustained economic growth. The mistake that we made during the Ellen administration is that because there was an automaticity of growth. Let me explain what I call an automaticity of growth, right? In 2003, the economy had collapsed by more than 90%. 90% of GDP had evaporated because of the 14 years of war. So when Ellen came to power, we had 17,000 UN troops. These 17,000 UN troops brought in some degree of stability. So Liberians coming from refugee camps, Liberians coming from the diaspora, Liberians coming from all over the place, they started to do what? They started to spend money to rebuild their homes. So that aggregate demand that came, it came because people were rebuilding their lives. There was no economic policy that Ellen did that brought in positive economic growth. Because you see, as soon as Ome left, what happened? The economy nearly collapsed because Ellen did not create an economic architecture for sustainable development. She did not bring in enough electricity. She did not build enough roads. And she did not support sustainable economic projects. For example, like agriculture, like, for example, like hospitality and tourism and manufacturing. So Ellen concentrated on the extractive sector. What did Ellen do? Ellen signed 66 out of 68 concession agreements. And she signed 68 concession agreements, and 66 out of the 68 were deemed fraudulent. Fraudulent by a more serious report, an international risk management and auditing firm. So, in order to drive sustainable economic growth, you have to have what we call broad-based economic growth. And what is broad-based economic growth? Broad-based economic growth across sectors. If you look at the sectoral origin of growth in the central bank annual report of 2019, yeah, you will see that what's driving the economy is what? Mostly exports of mineral resources. $250 million worth of iron ore was exported in 2019. 175 million worth of gold and diamond, and rubber about 125 to 130 million. That is the thing. So the other parts of your economy, like you look at the transportation system in your country, mostly keke is an informal transportation economy, transportation system, kekes and pimpins. The keke industry, the pimpin industry produce more jobs than the extractive industry. And they are mostly untaxed. So you don't do domestic revenue mobilization. There's no way to tax the income of the keke and the pimpin because they're not within the informal sector. And then you look at the...
You say keke drivers and pimpin owners, they don't pay taxes?
Of course not. They will pay the registration, but their daily income is not subject to tax. There's no way to tax them.
Yeah. All right.
The form of tax the government gets from that, but their daily income, which is substantial. If you look at the number of pimpins in the country, the number of kekes in the country, that's your transportation system right there. And transportation is a major component, cost component for household. If you're doing household income and expenditure survey, you have to add transportation there, the cost of transportation, which is greatly affected by the cost of fuel.
Okay, Mr. Jackson, let's go to another major area. So that was on the growth. Another major area of controversy is what's going on currently in the country with prices and no money in the bank, as people are saying. Well, Mr. Tweah has a way of explaining this.
Mr. Tweah does not understand that. Mr. Tweah does not understand deflation. What is happening, the economy right now is deflation.
What he said is inflation was at 30%. They have managed to bring that down. So that's improved.
They did not manage to bring it down. Mr. Tweah was trying to explain a monetary policy which he said was driving inflation down. So he said the government of Liberia, through the central bank, issued $12 billion in bonds, okay, or T-bills, okay, it's what we call repurchase agreement, at 25% coupon rate, right? Yeah. So what he's saying is that the government is using a contractionary monetary policy by mapping out excess liquidity. But what is the opposite effect that this is having? There is no liquidity within the banking system.
Okay, hold on, so that we all understand, right? Yeah. When we say the government is issuing T-bonds, meaning we have a lot of money, T-bills, meaning we have a lot of money out there. So to get the money, government will give you a paper.
Exactly. So the central bank sells it. And instead, he said it was subscribed 65% by institutions and 35% by individuals. So what that means is that the Central Bank of Liberia is issuing paper and people giving the government, giving the central bank money with an interest rate of 25%. So when the central bank gets this all this money, we said 12 billion. What is the reinvestment vehicle that they use so they can pay this 25%? He couldn't explain that. He cannot explain that. Okay, it does not make any sense. Because if you look at something called the capital asset pricing model, okay, you have to have a reinvestment vehicle in order to pay 25%.
What is that? What is that possible reinvestment vehicle?
It means that the central bank must have another means of investing that money to earn more than the 25% so it can make that spread. So if the central bank is just financing that because it wants to do is a thing of a contraction, then it means the government of Liberia is the one that has to go into the debt now because the central bank is an agent of the government. When the central bank issues a bill, it is not the central bank issue, it is the government of Liberia. The central bank is only an agent. It's just like in the United States, T-bills and T-bonds are issued by the Federal Reserve on behalf of the U.S. Treasury.
Right.
You follow me, right?
Right.
Okay.
But these things happen when there is a lot of money outside that they
exactly. So it is counterintuitive, okay, and it is not coherent from the policy point of view. So you having illiquidity with the banking system, and then you're taking out liquidity from the banking system. So it's a countermeasure that is having more negative effects. So then, where is that money that the central bank is getting the $12 billion, and what are they using it for?
But inflation was at 30%. Now it's 17%. Isn't that improvement?
Great. Okay, let me tell you why that happened. Remember Charles Taylor time? What was the rate? The rate was what? 50, 45, right?
Yeah.
Because of deflation. You had a large quantum of money chasing few goods. So the value of the money has to come down. It has to rise up. You understand? So when the goods go down, that's deflation. Because the economy is contracting, is deflationary. That is the reason why you having. But if what Mr. Tweah was saying was true, you will see the adjustments in price levels within the economy. It means that the goods in the market will be cheaper. If actually inflation had gone down by that and the currency had appreciated by that much, right?
Right.
But the currency appreciates, but it's not reflected in the price levels. So it does not make any sense.
Right. And that inflation can be just controlled by the people instead of market forces.
Well, the thing is, I believe in something called the efficient market hypothesis, where equilibrium, the market is efficient enough to provide a level of equilibrium. Okay, efficient market hypothesis. But if you want to manipulate the market, first of all, Mr. Tweah has no control over the quantum of money, the aggregate money supply within the Liberian economy. The government of Liberia does not have control over that because only 5% of currency in circulation is within the banking system. You following me, right?
Yeah.
So 95% of currency in circulation is outside. So how do you drive monetary policy when most of the transactions within the economy are not intermediated by the commercial banks or the financial system? Can't.
Let's go to the liquidity issue. You send money, you have to do it through SendWave, else people won't get it. According to Mr. Tweah, the reason we have this issue is people don't have confidence in the bank because when they put their money in the bank, Mom goes to the bank to withdraw her money. The money is not there. So what she does the next time around is to keep her money home. So the way to solve that problem, Minister Tweah said, is to print more money. So when more money is printed and there's money in the bank, the next time Mama goes back to the bank and is able to withdraw her own cash, she has the confidence to go back home and get the rest of the money from under her mattress because of the risk involved and put that in the bank.
Okay. Mr. Tweah is a little bit right on that. In fact, mostly right. There's no confidence within the banking system. Why? There's no confidence within the banking system because of the issue of inefficiency in operations. You go to the bank, you have to spend 3-4 hours to get your money. You go to the ATM doesn't work. And the other reason is that you have this huge informal sector. The informal sector is huge. Remember, I told you 79 to 80% of the workforce, people ages of 16 to 65, they are not working in wage employment, but they are in subsistence farming, they're doing tokafle business and all that kind of thing. Okay. So only 7% of adults in the country have bank accounts. In Ghana, it's 50% of the population own bank accounts. In Kenya, M-Pesa, which is their mobile money operation, 92% of Kenyans use mobile money. What does mobile money and what does financial inclusion do to money? It takes money to the banks. When money gets into the banks must be efficient to provide the services associated with that. Now, let me give you an example. There are 3 reasons why people put money in the bank. You put money what? You don't want people coming to your house and jacking you over there for your money, right? So that's for safety, right? The second is for liquidity. Liquidity means ready access. You know, you want to have access. And the third thing, of course, you put money in the bank, you want to save it, you want to earn an income on that. Right?
Interest.
Yeah, interest on that. So if the banks only providing safety, but they're not giving you access, ready access to your money when you have an emergency, when you want to buy something, you want to do something, you are not going to put. So what you're going to do is to what? You're going to take you're going to start taking chance on keeping your money in safe in your home. Now, the business people, the other reason why we don't have money in the bank because we are very stupid people, Dennis. And let me explain something to you.
Right.
Remember I told you, yeah, we're very stupid people.
I don't like that characterization.
Yeah, but I mean, this is I really believe that. I mean, so this is my opinion. I take full responsibility for saying that we're very stupid people. And when I explain this to you, you may probably come to the same conclusion too. Remember 250 million I told you about in terms of iron ore export,
right?
$175 million in gold export, and then the other thing with the rubber, which is about 125 to 130 million. Where does that money go, Dennis? Do you know where that money goes?
The business people should have it.
They don't have it in Liberia. All countries in the global south, they have something called export proceeds surrender.
Yeah.
When you export from India, from Pakistan, from Ghana, from other countries, you have to bring that money back and surrender that money to the central bank or sell it to commercial banks. Ghana was 100% to the central bank until 2016. In Ghana now, you can sell that to the commercial bank. What does that do for you is that it stabilizes the exchange rate regime in the country. And then remember the X minus the M, which is a part of the GDP thing. If the X minus the M, if the X is not kept in the country and the I is you're spending money on the I for the money to leave the country. So what is staying in the country for reinvestment? So you don't have export proceeds surrender. In Ghana, the only money that you can take out of the country is what we call profits, net profits. But you must pay taxes on the net profit before you repatriate your profit. Nobody said you can't take your profits out. But the money that you earn based upon your operation in Ghana, in Pakistan, in India, in Argentina, and other places, go research that. We are the only country that I know in the global south. Only advanced countries don't have export proceeds surrender. But the countries in the global south at the stage of economic development, they're all using export proceeds surrender. That's why I said we're stupid. So If you doing $600 million worth of export a year, and there's illiquidity within your banking system, so and the exporters are keeping that money outside of your country, are you a smart person?
Well, business, economic wise, you are not making a wise economic decision. But Mr. Jackson, what's about printing more money? What does that do to the economy? Does it help to have more problems? Because this on the central bank website, the central bank said, because we asked for we knew this problem was going to happen, so we have earlier put in for 7 billion to be printed, but the legislators allow only 4 billion. So that's why we are having this shortage. So if we print more money, the issue will be resolved. What's your take?
Okay. Mr. Tweah himself admitted, if you remember, that there's issue with confidence in the banking system, right?
Yeah.
So if you print 100 billion and the problem in the banking system is not fixed in terms of the confidence,
right,
and you don't do the comprehensive examination.
He said the way the confidence will come back if we have enough money in the bank, so that when I put my money in the bank, I'm able to get it, that it will be liquid. I can get it anytime I want. If that happens, I'm going to take the rest of my money to the bank.
Okay, great. So that presupposes that you're printing 30 or 40 billion to give it to people for free. Is that how you're going to do it? You're going to infuse it within the financial system, right?
Yeah.
You're going to give it to banks based upon transactions, based upon their reserve, right? That money is going to flow. You have 16 billion you printed in between 2016 and 2018 that was infused. It evaporated. 8 or 9 months ago, you printed 4 billion. It evaporated. So that's 24 billion in the last 4 to 5 years that you have quote unquote infused within the economy, and it has not done anything. So what are you going to be doing this time that is different than what you did with the 16 billion and the 4 billion? He cannot tell you that, Dennis. That's what he should be telling you. He should be telling you we have a comprehensive plan, right, to inspire confidence in the banking system. We have a method to digitize the economy, to do more mobile money, more Visa, more MasterCard, and other forms of electronic payments. Then he has to tell you we're doing financial inclusion to get more Liberians to put their money in the bank, but giving them good quality service in the bank, more ATM machines around. And then we're going to restructure the banking system so that you can have every little boy that's standing, sitting down outside at a table with a signboard saying high rate here. Do you see any little clown in Ghana putting up a little table in my color market and say he's a foreign exchange bureau? You lived in Ghana. You laughing? Do you see the Ghana market woman accepting dollars when you go buy something from her in my color market? No, because they believe in the currency. And when you send money to Ghana, what happens? There's an increase in the reserve of the central bank, because the central bank gives you local currency, but we're giving people US dollars. We have this fixation in our head with this dual currency based upon our colonial experience. Okay, this colonial experience that you have to have the dollar. No other country in the West African monetary zone treats the US dollar with the kind of reverence that we treat the US dollar.
Yeah.
The US dollar and the dual currency is a double-edged sword for us. It benefits the elite because they can have ready access to foreign exchange for them to get on the plane and travel. But the other people like my boy, they don't need US dollars.
They don't need it. Mr. Jackson, let me read a few comments. And I want to mention that every time I have you, the first thing people talk about is Sam Jackson has worked this place, that place. We're not going to go into that tonight.
No, I'm not. I mean, that's crazy stuff.
So I'm not going to read comments like that because I don't know what's the fault in working for your own. But Mr. Thomas Awaji, he lives right here in Georgia, in Atlanta. He's not happy with the conversation tonight. He says, so big book liberal talk makes no sense. These guys might be giving fake figures to the He doesn't like for us to talk about Liberia this way. The language you are speaking, the Liberian government, people don't even understand what you're talking about. And so he's even saying, Dennis, you can do better than this. Why can't you find somebody else outside? What, and so he's making this comment. So your first response is, what is the significance of what we are doing here tonight?
First of all, Thomas Awaji is my adversary. He attacked me on all kinds of issues. He said my house, my wife, the house my wife grew up in Liberia, in Pinsville, okay, where we bought from the family estate, my wife and I. He said in 1980, I took the house from a family and I can't show him the mother deed. And he's been harassing me for so long. So he has a personal thing against me that he says the house I live in, which is the house that was built in 1966 by my wife's parents. There, he said I took the people's house away from them. So he has a personal grudge. Let him go and solve his personal grudge in somewhere else. I'm not even going to deal with him because he's not coming to this thing with any degree of honesty. He wants to make a point, and so he's made his point. Let God bless him and let him take his thing. Let him go around. Okay.
All right, that'll be but personally, he most of the time when he approaches discussion like that, that's what he always says, that whatever we're doing is not giving solutions, it's just talk. So he said, Dennis, are there any other world economists in the Liberian community or outside the Liberian community you can find with any knowledge of Africa you can find to bring on your show?
But here it is. Here is a man, okay, with over 40 years of experience, with a graduate education in economics and finance, and currently a scholar at the London School of Economics. This is the guy you see when I come talk about economics. Does it make any kind of sense to say I'm not going to talk about economics? Here I'm a scholar at the best economic school on the planet, and I've been minister in Liberia 2 times. Okay, and I was one of the economists that wrote the Sustainable Development Goals development model. See, here he is saying why you can't bring another intelligent person on. Eh? So you see the guy has issue, man.
Let me read this other one. ABDJ Blanco Calese. It is always a privilege to listen to Liberian economist Samuel Jackson. What an intelligent intellectual discussion. Rufus Hagba, recommendations were given, but the government is yet to consider them. That's the most he can do right now. Blame the people you put in charge. He's responding to a question that, what are you recommending? And we're going to get to the recommendation part, but that's what he's responding to. When we can't understand the message, we then attack the messengers to avoid inadequacies we have within ourselves to make up for our insecurities we feel because we can't understand the message. Wow. Siafa saying, you work with Taylor, Ellen, and Patty in Weah's government. What difference you made that you can be considered seriously? I mean, and let me respond to that. The C plus R plus G plus X minus M is an economic formula. Whether he worked with Taylor and Charles D.B. King, that's not going to change.
Well, okay, but let's get it clear. I was a minister in Charles Taylor government for 1 year and 6 months. I never worked for Ellen and I never worked for Weah. Okay, I went to Liberia last year in 2019 to help to support the development agenda by having a national economic dialogue. We did 17 recommendations. I left. I don't make policy decisions in Liberia. I've never had the opportunity to make policy decisions before. If all the things I've been saying, if you read my book, you read my writings, have been consistent. Look, the people that run this country for the last 17 years have done it under complete peace and stability. The Amra Kone, the Samuel Tweah, the James Colley, the Edwin, all these guys, they had the greatest opportunity to make real changes in the country, Dennis. Real changes.
And we're going to come to that. We're going to come to that because the former minister Amara Connor has been replying to
but I'm saying
as well.
Look, let me tell you something, Dennis. All the nyama small economics is doing cannot help Liberia. Look at something fundamental as export proceeds surrender, right? Export proceeds surrender will improve the banking system by over 400 to 500%. It will solve your foreign exchange problem. It will give you a lot of reserve. The other thing about agriculture, the Liberia Agriculture Sector Investment Plan was funded by USAID by over $100 million, and still have no agriculture output. So the things that they need to do, to radically transform the lives of the people, to see transformation, they're not able to do it because the politics, the geopolitics behind it. Ellen Shally went and rebuilt an old dam, 64 megawatt, that was commissioned in 1966. She took $330 million to rebuild Mount Coffee. Why you rebuilding Mount Coffee when you need 400-500 megawatt? So you spending money. The IMF has been with you since 1945. The Bretton Woods institutions. You had a war in 1989. Your country imploded because of the fragility. The fragility came about because of the poverty and insecurity in your country. Post-war, you cannot say we're going to have a radically different approach to economic development in the post-war era, and then we've given power to people over the last 15 years. 15 years. 12 years for Ellen, 3 years for Tweah. What radical transformation, Dennis Ja, have any one of these governments made for people to say, wow, they really changed the lives of people? It's not. So all the things they're doing, when they talk about they C plus I plus D, and then they talk about public financial management reform and debt management, all that, that's not radical transformation. Right. Ghana made radical transformation in the lives of its people because what it did, it overturned the system. You cannot use the same system you used for 173 years and think you're going to have a different result.
All right.
The extractive industry still continues to be the dominant industry. The Lebanese, Indian, and the Fulahs, they have the parallel financial structure that dominate your economy. Yeah. Ghana, you know to go to Ghana. Go to the first page of the Ghanaian Investment Act. On the first page, you cannot open a retail or wholesale business in Ghana unless you invest $300,000 and hire 10 Ghanaians.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
About the foreign exchange, Jackie Saya say, and then when you are leaving Ghana, you go back to get the US dollar. But while in Ghana, your dollars are changed to cedi. That's the same with Zambia. Bottom cooler, printing more money is not going to restore confidence in the Liberian banking sector. And Mr. Jackson, okay, let me read this last one and then we go to our phone lines if we have callers. Harris Woti, but my problem with Liberian is that they talk very good about issues on Facebook and radio, but when they are placed in position, they fail to do the job. This man is talking good and sounds, but if he's placed to do the job, will fail us. Some just look for ways to get the job, period. Agatha Shelley, the role will make the change after we are leave. Lack of role is the back wall to our country. Let me ask in the back room if we have some callers online. Mr. Jackson, okay, that's the book for Mr. Jackson, Rich Lempo. What is and what the viewer say is sometimes make a lot of sense. Why is it that one administration after the other, you talk about a radical change, why is it that we're not getting there?
Because they don't want to do the heavy lifting.
I mean,
the people that have been in charge, people that have the real power.
Okay, and this real power, when you say people with the real power, because you were in government and you say you didn't have the power. So when you say the people that have the real power, who are these people?
Okay, but listen to me. If we have Peace Honor Taylor for the year and a half out there, but I went there 2002 or fighting the war, so I didn't have the opportunity, right?
Right.
But I'm looking at the people that have had power for the last 18 years since 2003, where no gunfire, where they had an opportunity with the national legislature to have oversight. The same national legislature, they're the one that ratified the 66 bogus agreements on Ellen. Those are the same ones that allow her to build or rebuild a 66 megawatt dam that was built in 1966. Those are the same ones that do the same old thing about the payment of salary, and then everybody starts to dance, you know. But the fundamental changes that have to be made in a serene, stable environment. I've never had the opportunity to work in an environment where there was no war. I've never had that opportunity. I never had opportunity, for example, to be in the legislature to challenge government actions, right? So people will say, but you were there. The people that can make that decision are the people who run the country, who have ultimate power, and the legislators who have the oversight. You've seen it in the last 3 years. Look at the bogus agreements that were signed by Tweah, the Eaton deal, and the Iboma deal. They were ratified by your legislature. And when I came out and when I said these are bogus deals, what happened? I was excoriated. We had a press conference on me, say I was not I'm not a lawyer or patriotic to the state. I didn't want anything to happen.
Right, and we'll come to that. There has been criticism against you, and even during the show, I heard Minister Tweah say your hands were not clean, and the government is open.
Mr. Tweah was saying,
hold on, the government is open to people with clean hands. He gave an example. He said when he was at the finance ministry, working with Minister Conan, he was still a member of the CDC. He will write the president's message and goes to CDC and write the rebuttal to it without revealing any information. But these days, it's someone like you, your hands are not clean. You are coming into the government almost, and I'm not using his word, but like a spy, to spy on the government and report to the opposition and use that against the government. And that is why he's not opening up to someone like you.
Okay, great. I can respect that, but let's analyze that, okay? I mean, logically, right?
Right.
I'm an economist. What information are they going to give me that is not going to be made public? What Mr. Tweah and I, what are we going to discuss that will be confidential, that does not belong in the public domain? Mr. Tweah expects me to be a praise singer for him. Mr. Tweah expects me not to question the $16 billion. Mr. Tweah expects me not to question the 25 million. Mr. Tweah expects me not to question the 49 condos. He expects me not to question the palatial edifice that's been built. Mr. Tweah wants me to be like him. When he was working for the Ellen government, he said everything was fine. But this is the same man today. He and Amra Kone fighting because he said Amra Kone didn't do it the right way. So if Amra Kone were not doing it the right way, you were there spouting in support of Amra Kone, and you were getting paid $7,500. I am not like you. I am a progressive. Okay, I'm a nationalist. I'm a son of the soil. If you want to steal, if you want to do something bad against my country, don't tell me, because I will tell my people. If you want us to build Liberia based upon a transparent and accountable system, we can do that. I worked with Ellen for the 12 years, and I criticized Ellen on many, many days, on many, many issues. You saw me when I went to Liberia. I went and I had a powwow with Ellen, because Ellen is big enough to understand and take criticism. So we are there. This present government, okay, wants to operate in the night, in the darkness, like the Darius Dillon say. And you myself, we had a national economic dialogue. So what secret originated from the national economic dialogue that I would put out? But I would criticize you if you build 49 condos. I would criticize you if you 16 billion is unaccounted for. I would criticize you if $25 million is unaccounted for. So I'm not the kind of person that Mr. Tweah needs. Mr. Tweah needs the sycophants and the praise singers that will come and praise his benedictus name, his Prescott Paul, but I'm not going to be none of that because I'm retired. I have retirement, I have a
Mr.
social security, and I have a pension in America, and I don't need Mr. Tweah. So Mr. Tweah, tell him pay my $5,000, I will go my merry way.
Mr. Jackson, but you are on record praising Mr. Tweah, describing him as smart.
Yeah, he is smart. Cognitively, he's a very smart man. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are joining us,
Mr. Tweah is a smart man. Let me tell you something, Janet, you don't understand this. Mr. Tweah has cognitive skills.
I got it.
Okay, but Mr. Tweah does not have the skills to run an economy. It's a big difference. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, no, I got your answer. Those who want to join, who want to call in, please, the number is on the screen, 605-313-6004. The code is 79143. Call in and ask Mr. Jackson a question, or you give your comment, and we really want to hear from you. Mr. Jackson, let's talk about the domestic debt and the foreign debt, because that's something also Mr. Tweah spoke about, that when they got in power, they inherited debt. And so anywhere they went, they had so much debt because one of the criteria was you have to pay the debt. They say, well, that is not our debt. They say, well, government is continuity, so you have to pay. So they have managed. He said it pains him that at the end of the month, instead of paying salaries, he's taking a lot of money to pay debt. Let's talk about debt, for instance.
See now, that's the hypocrisy I don't want to hear from Samuel Tweah. Mr. Samuel Tweah worked for the Ellen government from 2011 until the government went. So if the government was accruing debts, Mr. Samuel Tweah should have informed the Liberian public that the Liberian debt sustainability was going out of whack. But Mr. Tweah kept quiet because he was getting that $7,500 a month and being sent to the African Development Bank. I would never do that. If I'm working for the government of Liberia as a consultant, and if they are taking on debt that is unsustainable, that will increase the debt stress of the country, and you will have to decrease the fiscal space because you will have more, you'll be spending more money on the servicing of the debt, I will say that publicly. Let's have a public debate upon it, and I will take the consequences. That's the kind of person I am. That's the kind of nationalist I am. You can't come now and say the reason why he and Amra having this fight because he said there were like $300 or $400 million of debt that was hidden. So how could you be an economic advisor for this government for like 6 years and you did not know there was a quantum of debt that was hidden? So you were not playing an effective role. You follow me, Jeff? So he was an economic advisor for the government of Liberia, working directly with Amra Kone. Amra Kone hired him. I wouldn't play that role. You saw me. I went against the 66 out of the 68 concession agreements that were fraudulent. I fought against Elenito. I fight Ellen. I call Ellen son in terms of, that he cannibalized NoCal. But I still go and sit down with her. That's the kind of person. You don't have to like me. Yeah. You don't have to like me. But you must accept the fact that I come to the table. I'm a knowledge expert in the global community. I supported the Sustainable Development Goals. I've contributed to that as an economist.
Yeah. But yes. Mr. Jackson, in Liberia, we say, let's talk so and talk so. Judge Weah came from a very humble beginning and unconventional means to become president, if I will put it that way. Nobody expected him to succeed. So a lot of people discounted him and even called him all kinds of names. As a result, no one even wanted to give him the chance when he became president, right? So it is that, don't you think that it is that, so he's become very protective, and even those around him very protective of him because people thought that he was not even a presidential material. And that's, do you see where they're coming from?
Look, my brother, in president of Liberia, you have all the power. If you're insecure and your insecurity causing you to damage the country, you want me to have what? Sympathy for you? You know what you were getting into. Nobody begged you to be president. You don't want for 12 years. You organize a political party and you say you want to be president. When you are president, you're president for all the people, including the big mouth Sam Jackson. So Sam Jackson will be critical of you, But you don't have to be dismissive of him, because Sam Jackson may have something that he brings to the table that you may need to listen to. That is where the body politic and the political economy, they come together and they make reasonable adjustments and compromises moving forward. So because you come from West Point or what the place is there, Gibraltar, I'm from Sunnywan. My mom and papa are native people. I come from the same background like you. The only thing I did, I went to school and went to America, and you want to play football. That's the only difference. So we both have different lives. And we come to the table.
Let's see if we have a caller on the line.
Okay.
Let's see if we have a caller on the line. Backroom, do we have a caller? All right. So according to you, how is Liberia doing with both domestic and foreign debt?
I'm saying to you, the debt stock has risen, including the one that is on the book and that the one that's been signed but has not been disbursed, almost $1.6 billion. That's 1.6. Look, debt is not bad. But if you take the debt, you must plow it or deploy it into a sector that can expand economic output and can increase government revenue and can create jobs and more jobs and expand more, But if you take the money, you put it into these projects that don't have a major economic rate of return, a social rate of return. So you're not when you take debt, you cannot take debt to pay recurrent expenditure. You have to take debt for public sector investment. So something like roads, electricity, or something that will expand economic growth. So the question has to be, when they were taking these debts, what was the analysis that went into the taking of the debt? And when the money came in, what was it used for? And have there been enough economic return on the project? It has not been done, because you're supposed to do a project completion report at the end of when you deploy a project. So at the end of the project completion report, you're supposed to see these are the outcome indicators from the road that were built from Cotton Tree to Buchanan. But Dennis Jah, look on the road between Cotton Tree and Buchanan. Both sides of the road, no farm, no manufacturing thing, no economic activity. You get to the St. John River. Those children have been selling the crawfish in that little basket for 200 years. They stay there selling little crawfish. So what was the reason for building a road, putting a road from Cotton Tree to Buchanan for hundreds of millions of dollars? What economic purpose did it serve? Okay, when you are building a road, you have to build economic zones, economic corridors. Businesses must be along those roads to create jobs and income and improve the lives of the people. But if you come from Magibi, Bumbatan, which is in right near Shuffling there, those are my Basa people. From there all the way to a river says, no cassava processing industry, and these people grow cassava. There is no rice processing industry. These people grow rice. There's no fishing industry. There's fishing along all those corridors of water. There's no major agricultural processing zone in that. If you go to the west, you go to a place like Bomi. Nothing in Bomi. Bapolu, there's nothing in Bapolu. Cape Man, there's nothing. They're not even making farina there anymore. These are the issues that we have. So these people that have been running this country, if they listen to me, and not saying just me, but they listen to good counsel, they would not be in the position they're in today to explain what they did, because it will be clear. Because you see, when you go to a developing country like a Ghana or Rwanda, you don't have to give no economists have to tell you that the things are going good, because they can see physically.
Exactly.
I went to Ghana. I went to Burger King.
Mr. Jackson, just hold on. Let me bring in a few callers. The first caller is Oliver. Oliver, you are live.
Hello?
Hello. Give it a little more volume, Oliver. Go ahead, Oliver. You are live.
Mr. Jackson, how you doing? I read your book and already.
Mr. Jackson, can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit.
Okay.
You know, I'll go to the point. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, speak a little louder. We can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I just left your Facebook. I'm on the message. Okay, Mr. Jackson, thank you so much. Your book is very inspirational. I remember the first time you came online here, which was last year, I ordered your book right away. I didn't hesitate. So I have read. And there are other things that you said about your history on the 70s to the 80s. Where has he advocated for the third month to the third one to build what? Bring freedoms and prosperity to the Liberian community. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah,
I can hear you
go
very
ahead.
loud and clear, sir.
To bring freedom and prosperity to the Liberian community, also economic growth and all of that. But all that time you've been doing all the cool that you could do. And I remember Mr. Kumar asked you, why is he here for president? He said, oh, he's done a expedient thing that was necessary for me to do. All you did was, yeah, you did your best. You left after the freedom of what we call the South Africa freedom movement. You did it in Liberia before the people did the recognize South Africa freedom movement. And you did all your part for the growth of Liberia and the cities. You also worked with the new government to cut in the food because you are the youth that is used to crowd out for the people to see whether Liberia could be changed. At the end of the day, you had the opportunity to come to Liberia and America to go to school and all of that.
Yeah.
In your profile, right? Right. But the problem was that all of that you did, and then at the end of the day, you work for chancellor government, and you I can say, to my opinion, you flee because you said that the war was the war was going to escalate to that limit that there was no going to be any solution. So you left. That's my opinion. And then when any business anything you work for her, and then later on you become a advisor of economy and all of that. For all of that, for all these 30 or 40 years, like what's the host? I always clean him up with the guy like he was like my brother because when he talking about that. My life was
Oliver, can you be brief? Can you land so we have more callers?
I got to be brief. What I'm saying, my life was peace, education, environment, drains, everything. Okay? And then when education came back to try to improve the economy, to see what I can do the same dream that you did for the city to get. Or at the end of the day, there was nothing done. So all those years, how can you come up to say you want to blame we are government. I'm not part of we are, but just sort of history all of that.
Thank you.
Government and all of that. Yeah, I think we revitalize all these mistakes that you made.
Thank you, Oliver. I got a point. How can you blame the We Are government now if you work for the past 40 years? Let me take a couple more callers.
Yep.
Please write that down. The next caller is Daniel Amposa, if that's the name. Daniel, you are live. Your question or comment?
All right. Thank you, sir, for people.
Are you listening to your phone is not clear? Can you turn the Facebook off?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a Ghanaian. I'm listening to the program, and I'm loving the discussion about the Liberian economy and the way forward.
Thank you.
I think that it's possible, and we want to see most African countries engage in that conversation so that we can all have a change of mindset as to how we liberate these economies and make them more productive in terms of making them value addition and sort of what my president called the God-based economy that produces only raw materials. And so I want to encourage you guys to keep the conversation on so that you can bring me folks to come to understand that we cannot get out of poverty if we continue doing these four things and doing it like we've been doing it for ages.
Right.
We've got to start thinking value addition. So thankfully, the African Trade Commission is coming on board, and we're going to have an expanded market that is unhindered by tariffs to be able to trade amongst ourselves. And I think that it's a good time to have this conversation for the Nigerian people, see the opportunities that lie ahead, so we can take advantage of them. In my country, Ghana, to be specific, we're something what we call, I mean, I don't know how you call it in Liberia. You call it county, one district.
Yeah.
One county, one factory. In Ghana, we call it one district, one factory. One district, one factory. So that we're trying to provide like agro processing factory in each of our districts, so that we can make use of the, economic growth in that area. They can take advantage of that and provide jobs for our farmers, because most of our economy is agriculture. And we're trying to do that by adding value, not just exporting like we've been doing in the past. And so, like your economist was talking about, the loans that we borrow, who tracks the loan and ensure that they are put in the right place at the right time, and that it starts going leaking out of the economy. If it's leaking out because people are putting in their pocket, it's being corrupted, then it's just like you fetching water and putting in the basket. And that aspect of tracking the loans, for me, is very key. Africa, most of the time, our supervision is very bad. Our implementation is very bad. We have all the good ideas on paper, but then the implementation is where we tend to miss the plot. And so I want to encourage that conversation that let all of us be each other's keepers, watch on the government, make sure there's accountability in terms of the revenue, the money, the loans that we pay, and make sure that the loans are impacting our people, so that we can embrace our people of the African continent and free the continent and make it one of the most, interesting places to live. I want to encourage you guys for the conversation I have, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Macaulay Wule. Macaulay, you are live.
Mr. John, thank you, Mr. Jackson. You see, Mr. Jackson, I'm not really a fan of you, but to be honest, I really respect your intellect and your expertise, especially as you discuss things affecting our country. And all of your points, to be honest, they are just fair and the best way forward. Unfortunately, Liberia, we are not. I am disappointed that most of the time we cannot disagree with people and still understand that we can work together in the interest of our country. And you mentioned about former President Sadiq. I will agree with you to some extent that one advantage that she has, she could look at people that in her disagree at a very serious issues, and yet still have conversations on, even if she will not take your point forward, but she will still be able to work with you. And some of the issues that I've always been talking about that you touched on, for example, like the McCoffee, that was one of the worst things that ever happened to us. Spending over $300 million to get 64 megawatt or 80 megawatt of electricity. When Ivory Coast, our next door neighbor, without our infrastructure at their new hydro site, spent $250 million to get 250 megawatt. Even Guinea, all over people are spending $1 million per megawatt, but Liberia we spend 300 plus on 64 to 80 megawatt. And I don't understand. I get so frustrated. In the sense that now my own government, I'm a member of the Congress for Democratic Change, and we sat there for 12 years in opposition, thinking that we were learning, and we took over. And instead of us doing things differently, but we are doing almost the same thing that was done before, contracting the fiscal space. Now we are in a tight spot that we are even struggling to pay civil service salaries, struggling to pay our foreign debt and domestic debt, and the economy is where it is today. But we have a foreign minister that is more of a politician than a financial expert or economist. And when you say these things, even our people, they say that you are not party discipline or you are not this, you are not that. And I really pray to God because I grieve every day because I want my country to move forward. And it's not about country, it's not about party, it's not about who's president, who's not president. I am willing as a Liberian to support anybody that becomes president of Liberia. But I want you to just do what is right for our country, for our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me take two more callers, Mr. Jackson, then you come in before we go join the rest. This is Opa Dualo. After Opa will be Dr. Kula.
How you doing, John? How you doing about that?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing, Dualo? Go ahead with your question or comment.
Yeah, quick comment. I want people to understand this. If you don't agree with what Mr. Johnson is saying, listen to the message. If that message he proposed and it changes the condition in Liberia, sure we at least listen to it. Everything he's presenting here is a broader economic change that we so desperately need to change the conditions in the country. But I want to make this one point. It's a very important point. People have to understand this. You cannot put people in the position of power, true policy position of power, where these people don't understand the very intricacies of economics, of what it takes to change the condition of the country, and then you expect that to happen. The point that Johnson trying to make here is not to downplay anybody, but to present solutions. And those solutions are there. You know, I was reading some of the comments that people talking about, why you look. The solutions are everywhere. He's written books on the issue. The problem here is people feel if you present that solution and that solution changes Liberia, and they're empowered, they're not presenting that solution, for some reason they're not going to take glory. It's not about glory. It's about the transformation of Liberia. We have to almost say a thing broader. Don't kill the messenger. Look at the message. It's a free message. The message that Sam Johnson is giving out tonight, it costs millions of dollars. He's giving them for free of charge. Look at the message. It's my message. The only thing I have to say, man. Thank you for saying great message. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let me take Dr. Kula's, Mr. Jackson, then you can come in. Dr. Batam Kula, go ahead.
Thanks for having me, Dennis. I got two points to make. First off, I got a bone to pick with you. Dennis, I would suggest that you please do not fall into this propaganda that Samuel Tweah and George Weah keep pushing that because he came from Sony where nobody wanted him to succeed and blah, 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 blah. That's why they're failing. No, they're failing because they're incompetent. And instead of them listening to people like Sam Jackson, who is giving them prescriptions for how to make things better, they go ahead and attack the old man. They go ahead and talk about everything else but the issues. Because what they're doing is, all they're doing is photo ops and superficial things. They go and school tuition is free here. I'm thinking about the implications of making tuition free. They go and pay YXP. I'm thinking about the implications of taking money from this place to pay all these kids YXP. The LG students were not even asking for free tuition. So the point I'm trying to make here is this. Samuel Tweah comes on radio in Liberia on TV and he bloviates. He makes all these pronouncements. If this man could convince George Weah that he's the best president since 1847 and George Weah believe it, that means the man got sweet mouth, and that's all he's been doing. So when you have a man like Samuel Jackson that comes back in and then takes apart his argument point by point by point, he looks bad. I just had a conversation just the other day with one of his boys, and I told him, I said, look, Samuel Tweah looks bad when Samuel Jackson and Timmy Freeman was speaking about the issues. Samuel Tweah didn't look like he knew what he was talking about. But when he's talking to the Liberian population and the president, people that don't know things on a deep level, it sounds like he's very smart and intelligent because he knows how to go around the world.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Jackson, I beg you, if it'll take God to beg you, or if we need to talk to all the radio stations, anytime Samuel Tweah comes out with some of his I'm not using no terminology, some of his economic theory, come back and rebut them on every radio station and every newspaper. That's what we need to do, so our people know the truth, and so that we can get the economy right. What kind of country is you can't find money in the place, and you say by putting more money, it will bring confidence into the banking system? I don't believe it. I'm not a financial man, but I don't believe that.
Me neither. Thank you so much, Dr. Kula. Mr. Jackson, please respond, then we can bring on the last batch of callers.
Okay, look. People always say I've been working for government for 40 years. And I keep repeating I only worked for 3 years, but they don't want to believe that I can help them, okay? But let us look at the logic of what I'm saying. And the logic of what I'm saying is very simple. If you want true development in Liberia, you have to radically alter the landscape and do things that have never been done before. Bottom line, okay? Look, internationally, I have helped other countries. I was second vice president for a bank in America, doing green shipments, wheat shipment to the Soviet Union, green shipments all over the world for the largest green companies in America, like Cornell, Continental. I went to work in Southern Africa, raise money for small cap mining companies on the alternative index market. I worked for Drexel Brennan Lambert over here, and my division responsible for producing the junk bonds. I went to work within the UN system and the high level panel. We produce the sustainable development goals. I just came from Cape Town to study housing adequacy in an informal settlement there called Donu, called Google Donu. If the LSE can put me on a team, for my group to study something so in my own country don't want to use me, that's their business. Today, yesterday, I bought a van. I think I showed it to you on my page. I bought a van. When I came to Atlanta about 28 years ago, I could not get a job in investment banking. I went into the cleaning business. I haven't met my wife. I have my own office and ask anybody. You can ask Tai Queenie. You can ask anybody who's been in Atlanta for years. I had lots of employees. I made a lot of money that I have met my wife. And we've been having a great time, been married this year. I'm going back in the air because I want now to get retirement income where I can just enjoy myself. So I bought a van and I'm getting a manager to run it for me to be going to different parts of the world because my social security and pension is not enough money for me to live on. So if Liberia does not want my expertise or they don't want my money for me to live in Liberia and be spending with the economy, I'll go someplace else.
Thank you, Mr.
Nobody running me out of Covington. Nobody running me out of America. I have free access to America anytime I want. And if you look at me, I look like somebody who is dying to go to get a job in Liberia at 68 years old to be getting into that traffic every 2 hours from my house in Painesville to go where? To work where? For who?
Let me bring in two callers. Some of them are dropping. Let's Mr. Kesali Double, thanks for your patience. Mr. Kesali Double, you are live.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. John. And thanks to Pop Jackson one more in your PJ again. Pop Jackson, I want to ask you one question. Because, some of us grew up in Liberia, went to school in Liberia. But what I'm noticing is that all of the economic theory that we see on the books that work in other countries, it's just doctors can be working in Liberia. I don't know why. I tend to be corrected. Because every time people will tell me that this and that economic theory, this and that, they work in other countries. But whenever it comes to our system, it is different. All of the economic theory and model, see the one that is being used right now by the World Bank. It is negative. The World Bank will come out and make a projection that we are going to have an increment into the associate. And then when you look instead of going positive, it is going negative.
Yeah, okay.
What do you think is the cause? What do you think are some of the causes?
Thank you.
Another thing is that, do you think this government can recover from the mistakes that is made? Are you expecting that with the new thing that this government has, we can actually recover? And what are some of the things you think can really put in place to make them to survive from this? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me take James Lick. Caller with 609 area code. You are live.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to talk to Sam P. That's how we call him, Sam P. Sam P, this is James Lake trainer.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, I said that, brother. Don't answer no more questions about that 40 years working in government. Because people of my age group were living in Liberia, they were not paying attention. You work on a door, you were fired, you left that country. The same person that you were working for door. You know, so that book started after that because like people don't read, they listen to gossip. Every time I hear people attacking you, you work for government for 40 years, which is not true. Which is not true. Your real working record in Liberia, I don't even think every 3.5 years. So you got to get both stop in this.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. And
okay, I'm here, Sappy. I'm here. This was Lake.
Yeah, Lake man, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. And as I said before, Samuel Jackson is the only one of his age group and his intelligence and level of experience who is very visible out there talking Liberia, talking economics. The rest of the people, if they are willing to talk, they talk politics. But Samuel Jackson is in his profession, and that's why we appreciate you. We'll bring you here as many times as possible to talk. Even if you work for 40 years, my dream job is to be superintendent of Sino. So will you blame me when I work in Sino and say, oh, you work in Sino, why you didn't change the country? No, this is our country. We should work.
But you see, Dennis, this is a diversionary tactic. You know, they want to take me out of my game.
Yeah, because
I don't want to boast, but globally, I'm one of the best in my area, not just as a Liberian, one of the best globally. And when I speak the English and speak the language and give the prescription, they can't come up to counter the arguments I make. So they have to come up with ad hominem attacks. So I understand that that's the limitation. Look.
Okay. They say you're muff, but let's go to the solutions.
Okay, look.
We have first of all,
there was a gentleman that talking about economic models don't work in Liberia.
Yeah.
There's no damn economic model that works. It is the desire of people to change and improve their lives, to do the heavy lifting, to do the basic things. There is no econometric model that you can build. Wait, go.
So Mr. Jackson, let me give you an example of what you're talking.
Listen to me.
We say if your exports should be greater than your import, right? If your injections are more than your leakages, that's good for the country. So when you say economic model doesn't work, it's the people that are not making it work. No.
What I'm saying, there is no panacea. There's an econometric model that somebody say we will adapt it, hook, line, and sinker, and implement it in this country. It's going to work. That's not how it works. The intangibles, the behavior of people. Behavior economics is more important than material economics. How people think, corruption, rule of law, discipline, hard work. Those are the kind of things that build nation, Dennis.
Right.
Economic models don't build nation. Lafayette curve never build no nation. Okay? All the other different econometric models never build no nation. Lee Kuan Yew didn't use Lafayette curve. Okay, in Rwanda, Kigali, okay, what's the name of Kagame is not using any econometric model. He using simple behavior adjustments in the behavior of people. First of all, he inherited a country with that scale. People killed 500,000 people. He changed their mindset. They got national reconciliation. They improved governance, the rule of law, reduced corruption. Then he made Rwandans to think of themselves as equal to anybody in the world, to be able to compete competitively. Then you send them to school, give them good training. Those are things that build nation. No econometric model can build a nation. Doesn't work. It's never worked anywhere. But let me ask you a question, Dennis. You live in America now for how many years? About 20 years. Right. What econometric model is America using? Tell me.
I don't even know.
Thank you. Right? So it is just the common sense, the thing that the American pioneers did with the manifest destiny. They went out to the West. They planted their cotton, industrial revolution. They did their invention. They worked very hard. They have a constitutional government.
Exactly. They have equal opportunity.
Yes,
people
exactly. And they have social protection, they have a social flow for people who are poor to get in the food stamps, and then the food stamp is a subsidy to agriculture. So all these things, it's not a model. It's doing the common sense thing that makes it. The thing I'm telling you, 600 million coming out of your country every year, and the money is not in Liberian banks. Does that make any sense, Dennis? Where your iron ore export, where your gold and diamond export, and your rubber export, the money is supposed to come back to Liberia and be in Liberian banks, and we can use that money there for reinvestment into other sectors. That's how countries grow.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Let's conclude now with your advice. And we talk about the growth. You just made mention of it. We talk about the liquidity issue. So, in your conclusion, what is the way forward? How do we fix these things? Don't tell me fire Tweah, because I've heard that.
No. Come in. Look. Right. I'm not going to go into the mud. I said, look, and there's a guy who's agreeing with me, Gabriel, or what his name, Chatijo, what his name, man. I'm trying to figure out.
Gabriel Carter.
Yeah, Gabriel Carter. Gabriel is making a lot of sense. Behavior is behavior. Behavior is the most important element in economics. If you change your behavior, your work habits, then if you change your work habits, you'll make more money.
Yeah.
You know, if you obey the law, you will not go to jail, and your family will not be with you, and your wife and children will not go on welfare. You know, change your behavior. Liberia needs to change its behavior to grow up. This is the 21st century, and this country is still on the umbilical cord of the international system, begging for money from IMF and the World Bank, and the whole development paradigm in Liberia is based upon the World Bank and the IMF support to Liberia. What kind of country is this? Dennis, Ghana can go to the international bond market, the Euro bond market. They went for $5 billion. It was oversubscribed. They got $14 billion because they have access to private finance capital. Liberia does not have a credit rating. Imagine, Dennis, you living in America. If you don't have a FICO score, how will you live? Because then you can't live in this country just on your income. You have to do deficit spending. Right. You have to buy a house on credit. You have to buy a car on credit. You have to do this. It's credit, the intermediation of financial institutions. That's what drives economies. So credit is very, very good for the economy. But you need consumer credit for Liberians. You Liberian people, you got to steal money to build a foundation, to take it to a roof level, then before you know. But in America here or in Ghana, you go to the bank. They give you a 15-year mortgage in Ghana, 30-year mortgage in America. You pay the bank. You want to buy a car, you go to the bank. You are a farmer, you want equipment leasing, you go to an equipment leasing company. If you're a farmer, you go to an agriculture bank, they give you money to do cocoa. You know, cocoa board, you know that big building in Ghana. What do you call the cocoa board, right? You know the building in Ghana.
I don't remember. Okay,
but it's the cocoa cooperative. It's like a 14, 15-story building in Ghana. What Ghanaian coffee farmers, they send their children to Oxford, to Cambridge, to LSE, to all the BB schools. Liberia only produces $2 million worth of coffee. Not coffee, or cocoa a year. Only 2 million. Ghana and La Cote d'Ivoire together, they're producing 2 billion, 65% of the global cocoa market. You follow me? So it's not about talking. It is not about C plus I plus G, X minus M, all that nonsense there. No, it's about changing the behavior of the people. Good governance. Good governance is extremely important. The political economy must be strong to have a vibrant discussion between the opposition and between the ruling party without any kind of tension to destroy the country, to agree to disagree. You know, this is what we need. Liberia does not need fancy terminology in economics or fancy models. I built good models, but that model is just for people who want me to write paper, and I do regression, I do computable general equilibrium, and I do a lot of stuff on Excel and do the projection, and they pay me my $5,000, $10,000, you know. But that does not bring in money. what brings in money are the guys that go and make the rice farm, okay, and put other rice together. They
Yeah.
buy the rice mill, they mill the rice, they bag the rice, they sell the rice, they make the money, they send the children to school, they have a good life. That's what the economy is all about. They put out the brake layer, okay? They put out lay the brake. You don't even have good Liberian brake layers, good plumber. You know, plumbers in America make more money than I. You know that, Dennis?
Oh, yeah.
The guy the guy who can clean your gutter makes more money than you. The guy who come and clean your carpet makes more money than you.
Yeah.
This is the way economists because people do the heavy lifting. They are farmers, they are artisans, the people, everybody put
Thank you.
together and they pay their taxes. This is what do domestic resource mobilization. But you got 95% of the people in the country not paying taxes. How do we grow economy? Eh?
Because they're working. So, Mr. Jackson, thank you so much. We're going to have you back. You know,
Thank
every
you.
Saturday we have our business and economic forum. That's FOL Marketplace. And every time, because we want to keep hammering the economic message, on Thursday, Alice Coffee is going to be here to talk about the Liberian economy. He wants to talk money, and we'll be hearing about money. We have to talk economics because money drives everything. Even the Bible agrees that money is the answer for everything.
Yeah.
Mr. Jackson, I want to thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah.
Let God bless you.
Thank you so much. So, on behalf of all of us here at Focus on Liberia, I want to say thank you all for watching, those who called, those who commented, and even those who are going to watch later, those who criticize us, those who give suggestions, those who criticize Mr. Jackson and hold him tight on his 40 years. We say thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. By the way, before you go, man, I started those of y'all who in Atlanta, I started my cleaning service, okay? My carpet cleaning. I got the van and I got the worker. So, you know, you can inbox me your number. I will come and clean your carpet, man. Let's make this a Liberian business that can grow and I can employ other Liberians and make them successful in the cleaning business so we can make good money, so we can go take good vacations around the world.
Mr. Jackson, that ad was for two minutes, so I'm gonna invoice you.
Oh, but when I will invoice you for the every time I your show to them, and then we have the butt bill, no problem.
Well, thank you so much. Normally, we don't end our broadcast without playing our closing song, which says "We are all Liberians." You see,
thank you very much.
Dr. Formula said better. Say it's better to talk because our mouth is not gone.
Yeah.
You know, our teenage year was very destroyed when a war, when group of hoodlums and greedy people decided to gang rape the country by waging war for wealth and power. This time, we're not going to allow it. Let us talk. In spite of our differences, we are all Liberians, and we must do all we can to make Liberia that glorious land of liberty. Until then, from all of us here at Focus on Liberia, my name is Dennis Jar saying good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.